Got it?
It's supposed to be 6 o'clock, but I said, no, I'm bringing it in. It often does. That's what
Can I ask whether it's not?
But he changed
I am, yeah, I just have to be back. You guys are ready for this video?
Summer winter. When I moved here, I could no in between. Summer was yeah. Yeah, same thing. We had one day. Right. Our kids look at first. Daughter loved it. Experience.
And they said, so I said, well, we're going to show up. We're going to go around and introduce them. I mean, if you don't remember that.
You're not.
Very excited.
So we're going to go on a Saturday. I'm doing the
So, are you doing the rehearsal?
I don't know what
Can I come? That's
in general. Who doesn't? That was the whole other question. Meaning I want to skip over. But my daughter's going to say, it's
Good friends.
I'm just like a
I would say.
yeah.
I also would say that. And it could also be situation.
Oh, so we are so.
Yeah.
You take the expression it's
Man. Although now, I knew that when I got this, we give these to everybody. And I was like, is there that hat? I don't know. That hat's going to be like just for his graduation.
I'll put my dreads down and I'll put the hat on today. You watch me. I'm gonna rock it tonight.
We're coming.
Oh, yes.
Wow. I don't have to yell at you people like I normally do. That's nice. Hi, folks. Welcome to Olney Theater Center and the opening night of Red Pitch. I'm going to say that again later. How many of you have seen the play already? Have any of you? Just a couple. Great. All right. So this is going to be brand new for most of you. Okay, super. We're going to talk for about 45 minutes and then I'll open it up for some questions. How many of you have met either Daniel Bailey or Tyrell Williams? A number of you, so you all know what you're in for. All right. Well, let me first talk about these two amazing folks just briefly, so you know who is in front of you. And I'm Jason Loewith. I'm even say I'm the artistic director here at Olney. I'm the guy who gets to choose which plays to do and then hire other people to do all of the work, which is what I do over here. So Tyrell Williams, to my immediate right, is a phenomenon. We'll say it that way. Seriously, Red Pitch, which was officially his debut play in 2022, went to the Bush. It came back to the Bush. The Bush is a small and incredibly significant theater in London. It came back in 2023. This was a place where Daniel was the associate artistic director. He directed it there in 2022, again in 2023. It went to the West End, London's version of Broadway, in 2024, and swept, I think it's the only play that has ever done this, all 5 of the best debut play awards for Tyrell. So he is, totally. But before that, he was extremely well known, and frankly, despite all of those runs, more people saw on YouTube Hood documentary, which he created with Coyote Olney, am I saying that correctly? Yeah, which went viral. More than 4 million people saw it, and that actually was probably 2018, 15. Wow. All right. So 2015, which really paved the way for all that has come since. I think that your work as somebody who is able to bring an experience that may not be familiar to, certainly to a lot of theater audiences, with such authenticity and passion is clearly a hallmark of your work, that all the way back to the documentary, I think. And now he is very busy. He's turning Red Pitch into a film, National Theater. What do they call you on attachment? I love that. Working with the National Theater, he's working with, he's got a huge number of amazing projects on the way, as does Daniel Bailey, our director. As I said, Dan directed the original productions of the show. He was the Associate Artistic Director at the Bush. Before that, he was the Associate Artistic Director at Birmingham Rep. And he also is incredibly busy. You were only able to win one Best Debut Award from your West End production of Red Pitch. Yeah. But that's only because there aren't as many as there are for playwrights, I think. And I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit more about other work that you are working on, but you're incredibly busy too. I feel very fortunate that you're both here, taking time out of your busy schedules to make this work for us. It's really been special. And let me tell you, since we met the first time, just been so impressed by your collegiality, your willingness to collaborate, your ease with artists of all sorts, and at the same time, and this is so hard to find in our business, a laser focus on, but this is where we're going. I'm being really nice, I'm making things super easy and wonderful for you here in the rehearsal room, but we need to get over there, now let's go, which I've always been impressed by. So anyway, thank you both.
You got it, check.
There you go.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
appreciate it. You've given us the platform and also given us the space to be able to do our best work. So I really appreciate it.
Well, tell us, to begin, I'm going to make Tyrell has told this story many times. And by the way, please make sure to look both in the program and online, at the program online. Jared, we have a fantastic dramaturg working on this production, a guy by the name of Jared Strange, who did a really super interview with the two of you, which you can read about. And frankly, I cribbed a lot of my questions from that interview already. So, Tyrell, because I know you have this speech in your back pocket, tell us the story of Red Pitch.
Yes, for sure. So Red Pitch is a play based on my experiences growing up on a council estate in South London. And a council estate, I'm sure everyone knows, but just for the sake of clarity, is equivalent to a project here over in America. And what inspired the piece was one day when I was on the bus and I saw these houses had been built upon a football pitch that was very special to my friends and I. And at the time, the houses wasn't being used, so the purpose wasn't even being served, and it was still taking up space that was significant to a community. And so that inspired me to write a 10-minute project, which I later submitted to a festival called the Young Arts Writers Festival, and that's where Daniel and I officially met. We had met before, but this was the first time we had met and spoken and was working together. And the way that the festival works is that you have a writer's partnered up with a director. I was partnered up with Daniel, and then you're partnered up with some actors, and then you develop a piece for maybe 3 or 4 days, and at the end of those days, you showcase the piece to an invited audience, and the audience vote for their favorite. And so we had done that, and we won audience favorite on the day, and I remember Daniel specifically telling me, you've got something here, make sure you stick with it, make sure you develop it. And so a year later, there was a theatre called Oval House, which is still South London in Kennington. It's not there anymore, it's moved over to Brixton, the famous Brixton. But when we went to Oval House, Daniel came back, and I mean, the budgets were non-existent, there was no money, but our kindness of his heart, and also I guess the passion for the project, he was able to dedicate a lot of time, and we worked together on it. I was drafting, redrafting, and we came up with an hour, which we was proud of, but we knew that it wasn't the finished article. And then a year after that was the pandemic, and then we were still in the pandemic the year after that, and it felt like we was never going to get out of it. But thankfully we did, and in 2022, my agent, during that pandemic time, I was also redrafting and sending drafts to my agent, sending drafts to Daniel and getting feedback, getting notes. And then in 2022, we were invited to do a rehearsed reading. So of what we had, a little bit of the development from the version we did at Oval House, doing a reading of that. And that was, Daniel was present, and then the artistic director of the Bush Theatre, amazing artist in her own right, Lynette Linton was there. Amazing dramaturg, Deirdre was there, Lauren Clancy, who was the executive producer of the Bush Theatre at the time, they were all present, and then we did the reading, and maybe about an hour or two after, I remember it happening quite quickly, I got a call from my agent saying the Bush were very interested in doing the play, and then we opened in 2022 to a sold-out audience, came back in 2023, sold out again, enjoyed a great run in the West End as well, so that was the journey. It took maybe the span of 8 years. And now we're here in Olney, and we're really excited to share it with you guys as well. So yeah, that's the story.
Tell me the story within the play. Maybe Daniel, why don't you tell us tell me the story about these 3 young men.
Yeah, I mean, this is a story about many different things, but it is ultimately about this friendship that exists between these 3 boys who share experiences on this front page, which is what you kind of see before you now. And this is part of the community. This is like the community hub, but for them, it's their sanctuary. For them, it is where they're able to therapize each other. For them, it is where they get to exercise any of their issues, or even just to celebrate themselves and celebrate the joy, and for them to dream. So despite it being a cage, despite it being a space that feels like it's full of parameters, actually, we kind of subvert that idea, and it really is about them being able to explore different things and having a safe space. So I think the play does a lot of that actually. It subverts the idea of what you think, you know, who you think these young people are. Like Tyrell said, it is a version of like a projects here, and often those spaces are mischaracterized, and we wanted to kind of characterize this space as a space where you can develop and grow and still be a dreamer. So yeah, it's a story about these three boys who ultimately want to become professional footballers, or I should say professional soccer players. Yeah.
You should say whatever you want. We will translate.
I'm acclimatized, so you know.
Yeah.
I'm acclimatized. So yeah, they want to become professional soccer players, and their ambition is to go through a trial, which then helps them get to a really good team in West London called QPR, Queen's Park Rangers. So you will hear it later on today. And through that, that's the route for them to be able to kind of move into another echelon and kind of see themselves out of, I would say, you know, that kind of working class and moving themselves into middle class and be able to support their families and be able to support the communities that they come from. So it really is a story about this brotherhood and about them trying to reach the next rung of their lives and their careers. And within it, we get to experience so much joy and so much love between them. But we also get to experience the hardships that they go through because of their environment and because of where they come from. But like we said, we subvert that and we want to be able to bring you guys into it and immerse you in it. So yeah, that's the story in a nutshell. It is about this child that is kind of like our climax or our climactic moment. But actually, you really find that the climactic moment is really about whether their friendship lasts. You know, we've all been friends with people that we thought would last forever. And now, you know, we look to our left, we look to our right, and they're no longer there. So, yeah, it's a story about friendship.
Why do you think it was so successful at that moment at the Bush, and so successful that you brought it back the next year? I mean, what do you think connected so strongly with audiences about it?
I think there was something that really stood out to me, which was the way black masculinity was being explored. And it felt that was really resonating with audiences. We try and approach that with authenticity and vulnerability and show the importance of that union between those friends and how they're learning from each other and how they need each other. And I guess it was, one thing that stood out to me was how audiences really took to seeing those characters from that world be vulnerable and with each other in a space that they thought was their own.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we had so many different communities come out and show their love for Red Pitch. But I think it was a bit of alchemy that really happened. We started the process, like Tyrell said, in 2018. And when we started, the audience, because the audience had voted for it to win, that same audience was the same audience that supported it through every iteration of it. So that played a major part in its success, because people willed it to be better and willed it to win and willed it to do what it needed to do, which is go on and have its debut. And now it's having its debut over here in the US. And I think there are many communities that see themselves within those boys. Even if they feel like, actually, I don't necessarily come from that place, I still completely understand that. I talked about the universality of friendship, and that plays a major part in all of our lives, right? Right? You know, and I think that's the thing that connects people, right? It's friendship is brotherhood, it's sisterhood, it's all those things, and they're funny guys as well, and funny does really well to kind of touch the hearts of many people. Comedy does that for us.
What you created, the way that this play moves, really, you'll see soon, this play moves physically really beautifully. The interstitial transitions from one scene to another are choreographed and beautiful, beautifully realized through lighting design and sound design as well. Did you, when the play won that contest, that audience favorite moment, obviously it was just a reading at that point. So it wasn't they weren't seeing any of the movement. Did you plan for it to move at that time? Did the movement evolve?
That's an interesting thing. When I was approached to do the festival, so I had to direct like 4 other plays at the same time. They were 10 minutes each. The plan was initially for them to just be like a kind of rehearsed reading. So for those, you'll be familiar with it, but people still have their scripts in their hands, and they might be moving about the stage, but for the most part, it might be a bit more static. And Tyrell was adamant, or he knew what he wanted. He wanted them to be about. He wanted them to feel comfortable in the space. And Anne, who ran the Young Hearts Festival, was like, Dan, I've got everything. I've got everything up on its feet, everything. And I was like, wait, hold on. What do you mean? What do you mean you've got everything on his feet? She's like, I've choreographed the dance in my pieces, and I've done this and done that. And I was like, all right. So I got back to the drawing board, and I was like, all right, we're going to get on his feet. And so they actually managed to get some of the ideas that we started back in 2018 are some of the ideas that have been realized and kind of been crystallized now. And like I said, we speak about alchemy and like how things turn, so many things come together to make, the thing that it is. So it was for us, we wanted to explore an aspect of the physicality of the play. So we started that idea really early on, and we threw some balls at the guys, and they were able to control it. And they started playing football, and they were really good at football. So that was also part of the process of casting those guys that I did. We cast 2 guys who were really good at football. One of them was semi-professional. So it made sense. And then we continued that until we got to the bush run, right? We had a semi-professional player with us as well.
It's really beautiful the way it moves. I remember just being struck by that. Working with this cast here in the United States, we went through a little football boot camp over the summer with them. How have you found their ability to incorporate the soccer or football movement along with lines, characters, dialect, all kinds of things that they may not be familiar with?
I think they're great. I'm so impressed by how they've evolved from when we auditioned them to where they are now. Sure, Dee can attest to that. But what's also struck me, this cast has been so willing and so determined and so focused, and so they're just incredible. And so it doesn't surprise me in a way about how far that they've come along, because they put in the work and they always strive to be better.
It surprised me. It didn't surprise him, but it surprised me. They were fantastic in the auditions, honestly. And then I put a ball in front of him, and he was like, okay.
We got work to do.
But honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen, and I've worked with many actors, I don't know if I've seen a set of actors evolve so rapidly in such a short space of time, and with such expertise. You'll see them today, you'll think that these guys have been playing football since they were in school and college. They of course they had some idea of of football and kind of athleticism that's required, but when they first started to where they are now, I look at them like they're my children sometimes, and I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of them because of what they've done and what they've achieved, and they put in an immense amount of work to kind of really immerse themselves in like London culture. They play the music, they know all the songs, they know the kind of cultural icons that we refer to. And so when we got into rehearsals, we were like, oh yeah, so let's teach you about Kylian Mbappe. They were like, yeah, we know him. He scored this amount of goals. He's done this. He's done this. I was like, all right. Okay. Is there anything I can teach you? They were like, no, we know it already. I was like, but again, that was I think that's testament to Irene's not here. Jason, who made them feel incredibly welcome. Debbie, the whole Olney team who made them feel so comfortable. They've auditioned here before, some of them, so they came here with a confidence, and it was just about us kind of harnessing that confidence and helping them achieve the next thing, which is the play. But they done the hard work. They've done it all.
It should also be said, I've seen a lot of directors audition, and there are a few directors who audition the way you do. Most, I think we've all seen on TV or imagined what auditioning is like. If you're an actor, you come in, there's a bunch of people at a table way back there, and they say, go ahead, and you say your name. Go ahead, Phil. You say, I'm Phil Raven. I'm here to audition for the role of audience member number 17. Okay, very good, Phil. What do you have for us? And Phil says, "Mom," you say it, and he does it. And he's really great. And he's like, really great. And I say, thank you, Phil. You know, because the auditions for these guys, first of all, they were not one by one. They were groups of like about 8 different, at 8 at a time.
11.
Yeah. And Dan, director, he's like, all right, now here's what we're gonna do. So first, we're gonna all stand in a circle, and we're all gonna do this, and we're gonna talk, and then everybody do this, and it was like a rehearsal.
That's a really good impression, by the way.
I need to work on the accent. So actually, that brings me to a question that I just thought of, but I was gonna ask it in the reverse way. Charlie, you've now worked with some directors. Why do you think you have such a great working relationship with Dan? What makes him the perfect director for this piece?
I think you touched on it at the top. I think DB is Daniel. He's an incredible collaborator, and I think he allows you to be heard as an artist. And I think there's some merit in that, because that way you're able to build ideas and you're able to trust. You're able to gain the belief that you have ideas to build on. And I think that's what I've really, throughout our journey, our working process, that's something that has really enhanced me as a creator. Because I say all the time, I think working with him has made me a better writer.
What is different about you now, actually, after having worked? Can you quantify that?
Well, yeah,
It's not quantified, right?
it's the way that I approach a story, the way that I think about character, the way that I think about state, all of that stuff is stuff that I consider, and because of working with Daniel, stuff about it also helps that we have similar interests. We have a lot of similar interests, and we like similar things. So the subtleties that make stories, that set stories apart, the details. I think he's got a really great eye for that. And yeah, I think all of it comes back to he's an incredible collaborator, and all those other things are just offshoots from his ability to collaborate and to listen and to understand and build on top of what you have put forward, and then sort of just stay in the right direction.
You've done a lot of work with new plays. I mean, that's really been your jam. So what about working with Tyrell? What makes this partnership so unique?
I think like T's touched on it quite a bit, and Tyrell's touched on it quite a bit. We obviously share similar upbringing as well, and I think that's been a major part of our development as makers. He's made me a better writer. He's made me a better director because of the material that he's put in front of us, and because he's quite quiet, but actually he demands quite a lot. And people don't know that of him. Everyone thinks that he's just quiet, he's cool, but he demands quite a lot, and he demands excellence. And I think that for me, iron sharpens iron. So I'm always happy to be around him and to be working with him. And we are working on a number of things together, and those things bring me joy, because we don't only just share the work, we share life, in different ways. And like this thing here, this one show that we've made. This is one of many, but this one show has done so much for our careers, and it's sustained my family. So that for me, I get to pay homage to him every time I come into the space and make that work, because that's him. If it wasn't for him going back and writing, I wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be sitting here chatting to me, you chatting to some other guy. Do you know what I mean? So I have to, I always have to pay homage to that and acknowledge that, because it's super important. But he is also a brilliant artist. His attention to detail and his nuance in writing characters and character-driven pieces is like everybody calls me and goes, yeah, all right, so Tyrell. I'm like, well, guys, there's nothing more I can say about him, because his work speaks for itself. And the fact that he's won 5 awards, no one's ever done that before. 5 debut awards, no one's ever done that as a writer. And we've got some of the best writers in the UK. James Grahams, the Jack Thornes, and Matilda Beanies, and and Debbie Tucker-Greens. And with all those names, not one of them has done that. So that must be a testament to the work that, you know, the person that he is. There often isn't time that we get to spend and talk like this. Because we're also rivals as well, because he supports Arsenal and I support Liverpool. So actually, yeah, exactly. So actually, we spend more time bickering about football, which I think also, you know, solidifies our friendship and our relationship.
You touched on the great work that Tyrell does in terms of developing characters, and that's moving more into the specifics of the play. I want to ask you about these three characters. So there's three boys in the show, 16-year-olds, Bilal, Holmes, and Joey. When you first started working on this, did you, I mean, and we are going to talk about gentrification and how neighborhoods change and what anchors a neighborhood. But before we do, since that was sort of where you started, or I want to write about that, or this is inspiring something for me, did these three characters leap out at you like, oh, I know what each of these three characters is about, or did they slowly develop over the course of the iterations of the play? Because there are three very different, I mean, one of the things that I think makes it work is that this trio is very both, you can see exactly how they come together, but are also very combustible.
I think it's a bit of both, actually. I think part of it was like, I know the way I really enjoy characters. I really enjoy characters, and I enjoy humans. I enjoy exploring humans, and I think that we are both good and bad. And I love bringing that to storytelling. That essence of someone that can be good in this area, but can do something incredibly horrible, or you know, something that you don't like. And so when I was approaching it, I think a couple of things was happening. I think I knew what I wanted to experience. I knew what I wanted it to feel like, and then it was about who can help me get there. And I knew some of the lines that I wanted to hear, because I knew I wanted to pay homage to the projects or the estates in South London. And then I was like, who is saying these things? And so part of it was learning about these characters through dialogue, or things that I wanted to happen, story beats that I wanted to happen in the story. And also part of it was about me developing my craft. So as a writer, when I first started, you know, I remember it was difficult to really understand the evolution of the character, but it feels as though as we continued working together, that stuff became clearer to me, and making sure that these characters go on journeys that feel somewhat that they're going to change during that process. So it was a lot of workshopping, a lot of just interrogating the humans that I wanted to pay homage to, interrogating myself. I think these characters are, a lot of me is in all three of them. So it was a lot of that. It was also, you know, my own circumstances, my own personal circumstances that I was going through, having to care for my uncle who was ailing at the time, and help like feeding that into the work. And you know, writing is very cathartic for me as well. So being able to include that personal stuff in the story helped me a lot as well. Yeah.
Did the actors help you fine-tune these characters, I would imagine?
Yeah, I mean, we like, honestly, we've been blessed, to say the least, with the actors who've come and done this play in all of its different versions, whether it's a 10-minute version, whether it's like 35 to an hour version, or whether it was a full 90-minute version. We've had actors who you've probably seen on screens now. A lot of those guys have gone on to do amazing things, you know, in film and TV. And every single one of them has left something. There's some residue of those actors who've been a part of it from the very beginning that have, you know, they've left it. So, you know, we spoke about the ritual that the boys do, that you'll see at some point, the tapping. That's something that we kind of sat down and thought about, and like, but they realized it. The actors realized it in that first iteration of it. The football, the kind of idea of football. You know, we've seen sports plays, we've seen plays where someone's a professional at that thing, and they might not be a professional at that thing in their actual lives. But the idea of having someone who can play football or who was close to it, that kind of really solidified a lot of the characteristics, and we started developing characteristics about the positions of these characters because of who was playing these, who were playing these characters. So, like I said, there's a lot of residue of people who'd been a part of the process before, including one of our sound designers, who didn't end up doing the full version, but he was really early on, and he done it for a favor for us, really. And like, part of his essence is still in it. There's so many people that have touched it and helped us develop the storyline and those characters and the character beats even that exist. And sometimes it's hard to go, okay, that thing belongs to that person, but you can see it, they know it, they come and watch it and they're like, yeah, I remember that, I did that, I did that.
And the beauty is, I suppose, when doing it, having been fortunate to do it a couple of times and bring it over here, it's crazy to see some of the choices that have been, the choices that our actors made in previous iterations. These actors here.
Yeah, that's what Dan was saying. That like the actor finds something, or you work on something at the Bush 4 years ago, and then these actors find the exact same thing.
The exact same thing. It was something we spoke to one of the actors about. I won't call him out, but it's something we spoke to one of the actors about yesterday that he did. I gave him a note and I was like, you do the exact same thing that our previous previous character did before. And he's like, what is it? And I said, you just do a journey and it's the exact same journey. Even though the configuration is slightly different, you do the exact same journey. And he was laughing his head off. And I just couldn't believe it. I kept looking at Tyrell like, what is it about these characters that makes him make that choice? It's so small, but for us it's like.
But also, once you put three actors again in who have combustible or personalities that spark in a combustible situation, which is to say the neighborhood is completely changing. At least two of them are having to move due to gentrification or the effects of gentrification. One of them is trying to hold on because he needs to take care of his grandfather and his younger brother. And then you put them in this teeny tiny space. So like, there's only so many places they can go with the dialogue that they have, right? I mean, this is why I like directing shows in a very limited space, because there's only so many choices they can make.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And I'm sure that plays a part in it. But there is an essence. There's just an essence that they've been able to pull from somewhere, from some ether or whatever you believe in. They've been able to pull from it, and those characters feel like they exist also, in different realms and different ways. So it's just lovely to see that they're making those choices. And it's like, boy, I didn't ask you to do it. You've done it.
Yeah. When I'm looking at your play, Tyrell, it traverses so much thematic ground. Like I mentioned gentrification. Oh, by the way, did you do the Wire tour? Did you make it to Baltimore for the Wire tour?
Only just a bit of Baltimore. Just a bit of Baltimore.
But Black masculinity in general, power, brotherhood, distinction among different kinds of success, financial, spiritual, professional, social, familial, class issues. Something that I was just thinking about, Muslim spirituality, I think, plays a big role amongst these three boys, and I just was thinking of it when you mentioned Black masculinity, that it very much seems to be there are moments where it is in the play that sense of spirituality is the antidote to a corrosive kind of masculinity. Talk to me a little bit about Islam within the play, if there's anything you can share.
Yeah, it's funny because growing up, the council estate is very diverse. The demographics vary, and within that, so do the faiths of the people that live there. And so when I first wrote it, it wasn't even something that I was really mindful of that I was doing. And it was only after the audience were feeding back the importance of that representation, the importance of seeing a Black Muslim man or young boy presented in a way that feels human, that it really struck me and stood out to me. And I think it's coming from an authentic place, which is on the ends, on the council estates, or this is really something that is really a moral compass that you see a lot of the young people holding on to. It's also something that provides a lot of hope within a place that there doesn't feel like there's much of it. And it feels as though the unity of having that joint hope creates a strong one. And also the thing about Islam is, I'm not an expert on the faith, because I've just got loads of friends that are Muslims, but it's very ritualistic. And there's something about sharing that ritual, doing that together, that creates strong bonds and only cements relationships. That's it.
Yeah. And I'd say, look, Joseph is Christian, so you've got two boys, two of the boys are Muslim, and one of the boys is Christian, and it's like a prime example of how multiple faiths can exist in a space together without, and the friendship still be genuine and friendship still being sincere. And it's just, so I think even that friendship is an antidote also to how the faiths are almost linked, to be totally honest with you. Judaism also being another, which is a part of the Abrahamic religions, as we know. But all three of those boys still, have similar experiences, still grow to love each other, and it's just, another idea of how they coexist in pluralism, I guess.
I mean, I love how you describe it as, how you talk about it in terms of that provides all those religions provide a familiar moral compass that they can hold on to, and this is a world that you have drawn, and the world in which we live is certainly one in which moral compasses are lacking and harder and harder to find. So, yeah. Without going, we could go into those politics, but we're going to. I think, and yes. Tell me a little bit about what you've learned from working with a whole new set of collaborators here, especially, American collaborators. I don't think any of your designers none of your designers, this is all an American team.
All American.
So you had to introduce them all to the story, introduce them all to what you had achieved before, and yet say, let's go on a new journey together. So what did you learn in that?
Have any of you fallen in love really quickly? Have any? You'll know this feeling then if you have.
I'm sad to say that only one person raised their hand. You guys are a tough crowd. How long did it take the two of you?
But the ones that laugh know. They know. It just might not be the person who's sitting next to you right now. I'm joking. But yes, every single one of them have poured their hearts into this, from our stage management, and that's why I also have to speak about Olney as an institution, as a wonderful institution, Jason, that you have been able to bring.
We already paid them, didn't we?
Yeah.
No more checks coming.
I mean, in all honesty, jokes aside, I really mean this. From the first time that we had a conversation, you said you were interested, and I was like, really? Only? Okay, cool, all right. And you stuck by your work, and I think that plays so much a part as to why those collaborators came in and felt like they were very much a part of the show. The work that you have done, Gerard, all of the, I can name you all, to be fair. But the amount, and also the sponsors and those people who come to see it previously and have spoken so well of the play and wanted it to come back, that can only have helped us really find this bond and this collaboration that has again seen us develop a show that feels like it feels like it belongs here. But every single one of them have been brilliant. They've done exactly what the actors done, where they've immersed themselves in the culture, where they have familiarized themselves with slang, where they familiarized themselves with boys who might not be people that they interact with on a daily basis, but they understand. And I think something that I always say is like feeling is understanding, because they felt the show, they completely understood it, which meant everything that they brought to it, the designs, this wonderful design that you see that feels like it's immersive, it feels like you are very much a part of it. Nadir had come up with that, and we've gone back and forth and spoken a bit about the design. And Jeanette Christensen, who done the costumes for the guys, gone back and like had to redo her whole costume and but completely understood it when we came here. Kevin, who supported us in how we work with the kind of actors. By the way, 2 of the actors are making their debuts on this stage.
Like professional debuts.
Like professional debuts.
This is a very, we happen to be going through a period of like within 2 years, about 5 shows that feature a lot of teen characters. And finding actors, adult actors to convincingly play teen characters at the level that you want is not easy. We have succeeded in many places and we have not succeeded in others. I feel like we've succeeded really well with these 3 all local young men.
Yeah.
And something else I will say, I think it's down to you guys and down to the play, Tyrell, that if I'm doing a production of, I don't know, Oklahoma, I'm not going to have the easiest time finding great designers and great actors to work on it, unless there's an amazing director attached. Because they're like, oh, I've done it already, I don't need to do it. If we've succeeded in bringing you really great artists with whom to collaborate, actors and designers, it's because they want to work on this show. We've an actor who is in the show who shall not be named dropped out of the next show, but he was like, I'm doing this one. So anyway, just to share that a little bit. Sorry, go ahead, you were going to say? No.
I was just only going to echo what Daniel said. Just the way that the team has worked is just so incredible. I'm still astounded by their commitment and just their willingness to make this as great as possible. Because they could treat it as another job, but it feels as though they're pouring so much of themselves into it, and so I'm just so grateful.
You've seen 3 previews of the show now. Have you been surprised? And in the interview, you talked about how you hope that this play lands with an American audience. Have you been surprised by what you've seen so far, what you've heard, what you've felt from audience responses so far?
I think it's just been good learning. I think for me as a storyteller, what moments resonate in London and then what moments resonate more over here. I think that's been incredibly informative. It's nerve-wracking to watch your work. This is our baby. Essentially, it's nerve-wracking to put this in front of an audience who aren't so attached to what's going on in South London, but equally extremely exciting. I love it.
Yeah, it's been a real experience. Yesterday we had a couple of young people that came to see it, and they were soccer players as well, and they were so in it. There was such a culture of soccer now that's been developed here in the US, and it's big out here now. It's one of the fastest growing sports, which is amazing. And well done for you lot getting the World Cup, because we didn't get it. So well you'll see me. But we had like a set of young football players over there, and in our first night we had the young female football players over there, and they got up on stage and they played. And the young guys yesterday, when one of the characters they celebrated too, just like how the professional footballers. And I'm like, I'd never seen that before, and I can't imagine what it must be like to be 7, or I don't think it was 7, probably like 10, 11, maybe a little bit older. To be that age and see a show that you feel like chimes with you such a way that you can express yourself in your chair. And his dad was like, calm down. And I was like, nah, let him be excited about it. It was so touching to see those boys really get excited about the aspect of football. And I was like, I've never seen that. And it almost brought a tear to my eye. The only reason why I didn't cry is because I had notes for the actors. But just to see them get so excited by it, I was like, wow, this is the power of theatre, right?
What, in any of the critical reactions or audience member reactions that you've gotten just in the whole life of the play, what are the things that have surprised you, Tyrell?
It's a good question.
Jamie company.
Oh, yeah. I guess the one thing that really surprised was when we transferred to the West End, Jamie, which was what is a West End musical? Is it musical?
Everybody's talking about Jamie.
Yeah.
Very queer musical.
Yeah, so the director and members from the cast came, and the way that it resonated with them really took me by surprise, because it was just I'm not sure entirely why, but it felt as though writing this for a South London audience, and then seeing people who aren't really connected with that experience resonate with it so much, and to the point where they're moved to write stuff on social media about it and celebrate it, talk about it from the roots. It was so wonderful. And then we met up and we spoke with the director after, and he's just so lovely and so incredibly supportive. So that really surprised me. I guess it's like the machismo that the play tries to present, the way that it explores masculinity.
Sure.
And I think that's what really connected, and that was a big learning for me. That was a big learning for me.
I think every time, because I came to this business actually as a dramaturg, as a play analyst, if you will. And so I'm always thinking in terms of theme and discrete theme, like as we've sort of listed them. But one forgets, it's never one theme within, in isolation. They all talk to each other. It's, how masculine, it's not just masculinity, it's masculinity in class. It's not just class, it's class and spirituality. It's not just, it's element and so forth.
And that's what they articulated very well. They articulated the idea about class, because you talk about Jamie. I can't remember exactly the name of it, but yeah, they spoke about class and the authenticity of the characters that they present, and the authenticity of the characters that Tyrell has presented in the work. And that was the thing that really resonated with them, that they could see those forms of masculinity that are not necessarily toxic, but there are 3 different versions of those young people in a space. And yeah, they articulated that very well, the idea of class and masculinity, and those are the themes that obviously chime with their show.
As you think about turning this into film, are you actually through with this first screenplay draft?
No. Long way up to that bit.
So, what's in your head for that? What do you want to explore that knowing the great power of this intimacy? I'm not trying to take anything away from this experience, but what are you excited that it'll be a different experience that will offer this story, that'll be a different way of telling this story?
I think there's a lot of things from here that we can take into screen, but then also with screen there's things that we won't be able to do, we won't be able to achieve in theatre, like simply moving into different locations and stuff. It's exciting to explore the area in that way, just see what real estate where Red Pitch is really looks like, and subtly communicate that gentrification over the course of a 90-minute film, how architecture is changing. Doesn't necessarily have to be in the foreground of the image, but just naturally as the film progresses, you're just seeing things slowly going down, which feels really exciting. And lots of visual gags that we can bring into it, and stuff like that. So it feels like the visual medium on screen really offers up new possibilities, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, and just to give you guys a heads up, we've obviously cut this play. It used to be a lot longer, but we've cut it. And what that's meant is that we've had to take out some of the details that Tyrell has so brilliantly written. The characters, there's a couple of characters that don't feature in this version that used to feature in a version much older. So it's about bringing some of those characters back, right? That characters like the winner, who we love so much. Characters like Femi, he never turned. I shouldn't say that, should I? Anyway,
Femi showed up in one of the original versions?
maybe. No,
Maybe.
well, maybe.
There was a job with Femi, right? I'm sure there was a job somewhere.
There's at the beginning of the play, you will see these three boys are waiting for a fourth named Femi, so it's 2-on-2, and he never shows up.
Waiting for Godot. Yeah, waiting for Godot. So, leaning on the classics. But yeah, there are so many of those characters and things that we could have put into this piece. Things like, Red Pit shutting down. Some really good ideas that Tyrell had that I had to kill. I'm sorry, bro.
Let me announce it worked, right?
It obviously worked okay. We have time for a couple of questions, if there are any. Mikhail.
Well, first, I just want to thank and commend you. The familiarity, the genuineness, the relationships, the love and support that these young boys show to each other is not something that is typically brought to the stage or to TV with Black men from the kind of environment that you say they come from. So I think that's wonderful, and I'm looking forward to seeing the screenplays.
Thank you so much.
I was just curious because this one revolves around soccer or football. Was that originally the way it's supposed to be, was written, and why football or soccer?
Yeah, well, it's always been soccer. It's always been soccer. And the reason why is because soccer meant so much to me, and it meant so much to my friends. And Dee was saying earlier, it was sometimes, we're speaking about masculinity, sometimes you want to say something, as a young person, you want to say something to someone, but you don't have the language, you don't have the tools, so you can pass them the ball, and then that's saying so much, So the finding those metaphors to talk about our feelings felt really apt and exciting. So it was all of those things combined just made it feel like this is definitely the right way to go.
Great.
Okay, I don't know who this is best for, but I'm looking at this wonderful set and I'm wondering, not necessarily comparing other sets that this play has been on, but what does this space do for this iteration that maybe others have not?
That's a great question.
They're both good questions. That was a really good question. I think this space has allowed us to explore some other things that I wanted to explore, and Nadir, the designer, wanted to explore as well, which is like just kind of further reaching out to the estate. So, you might see the scaffolding over there and think that it's part of Olney, and I know you've probably been here loads of times, so you will know that it's not. But the scaffolding is another character, that is another character that gets featured within the play that we've never been able to do before. But now we have a point of focus because they actually exist here and over here as well. So things like really understanding this play and really understanding this space to be a character, it meant that we were able to kind of like just push our realms a little bit further out. Jason allowed us to push our realms a little bit further out and really explore with animating these spaces just outside of what might be the kind of usual playing space.
Am I right saying that the bush was also in the round you created? So the bush was in the round, and the bush is the theater itself is fairly similar size, but it was
smaller
in the round, and certainly in the lower ceiling.
Lower ceiling.
And then when it was at Soho Place, it's like an oval in the round almost.
Yeah.
So this is the first time you've had the opportunity, as you say, to like create anything on the walls. I mean, like that blue plastic, whatever that is, that's very much, as you say, that's part of the design. It's part of the design, the scaffolding, all the graffiti around, it's all.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, all of this and so much more, we've been able to restage it in a slightly different way because it's an alleyway, whereas we've had it in the round on a number of occasions, so we've not had like the real ability to create football goals. But again, we've done that in our first version when it was in a kind of thrust configuration, which is wild. I can't even imagine it like that anymore, but I guess we can.
Yeah, Yeah, and just when I walked into the space, I felt so overwhelmed, like so emotional, because it was like, right, the ends are in Olney. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. So that was a really special moment for me. And just the way, as Steve said, the way that it's been able to, like that fencing just feels so nostalgic for me. It means so much to me. And to see that, it was like really an emotional moment.
Maybe time for one more. Yeah.
You mentioned a couple of times, working with new collaborators here in America, and a couple of times the different student designer, and I know he, as well as the choreographer, Sandra Cole, done American Fast at the Alliance, which is also a sports story.
Yes.
Story of faith and some similar themes, and I'm just curious if they were going to ask them, but like what their experience with that play maybe brought added to the collaboration here.
Let me just quickly summarize. So,
With the Muslim female character.
Yes.
Marionette is coincides with Ramadan and all this struggles with her identity and that she goes through. It was actually all similar, kind of small venue and people.
same movement director working on 2 different sports plays. One, and that's Kareem Fahmy's play, American Fast. Such a good play. About a female basketball player a Muslim female basketball player, as I understand it, trying to deal with a competition at a moment approaching Ramadan, I think. And so how to maintain her ability. Anyhow, how did the work on one affect the work on another?
Well, again, like the team here at Olney, I was in London, so I didn't get a chance to see that play. But I got details from a number of people who'd gone to see it and came back and reported and said, look, we've seen this play American Fast and we think it was incredible. The movement was fantastic. So I think you should meet this person. And so I met Siani and we just kind of hit it off straight away. Me and Siani spoke about different aspects of culture and like culture in the UK versus culture in the US. And culture, and also like some of these characters are from West Africa and the Caribbean, so like bringing those cultures in as well. And Siani just had such a great understanding of what that is, that that kind of that line between the kind of mechanics of sports, but also the beauty and elegance of sports and how those things can almost feel balletic. And so that was an easy decision for me. And they're similar as well, who had done a number of work, and Jason was like, meet as many people as you like. So I met quite a few, but they completely understood the sensitivity of the play. And
this is Nadir Bey, the set designer, senior designer.
And he understood the sensitivity of the play and the nuance that we wanted to do. And also, he also, like, even before I had really thought about this, understood that an American audience will want something that feels familiar to them as well as Tyrell's response to coming in here and feeling like quite nostalgic and emotional about. So there's small details that he was sure that he wanted, which is something like the windows. These windows don't necessarily. These are windows like American windows, basically. You know what I mean? We'll have them in certain places, but like even the kind of the aircon unit. England doesn't ever get hot enough to have an aircon unit. It's always cold. So those things are very American, but he wanted to kind of pull in both. He wanted to pull in a bit of that familiarity, so you don't feel ostracized and like outsiders in your own space, which I agree. Mm-hmm. Great touch.
Thank you actually for sharing that. I didn't really think about that myself. That's awesome. I wish we could talk more, but we need to let the folks get ready to have first audience or opening audience in here. So I want to thank you both, Daniel. And thank you all for being here. And have a wonderful night.
What do you know?